Okay, welcome back. So now what we're going to do, we're going to have a look at question B. So it says discuss. So we need to do some evaluation, okay? And it says discuss the policies the government might use to make food more affordable, and this is an important thing, for low income groups. So it's asking us to specifically talk about low income groups, okay, not everybody. So following on from what we did before, we can just refer to this answer that we talked about. We don't necessarily need to draw this diagram again. We can just refer back to it. That will save us some time. Likewise, with a definition, if this is one of the solutions we're going to talk about, which I recommend it is, we can refer back to question 2a. Okay. So again, we can say that a price ceiling is one of the things that the government might use that might help low income groups afford food in this case. However, this is where we need to talk about some of the drawbacks which we might have just touched on last time. So first of all, the fact that there's going to be an excess demand means that some of the consumers, the low income consumers, might not be able to get these, even though we've got a low price of P max. Okay, they may not be able to get it because the supply is too low, and there's more people wanting to have this now than there was before. So potentially it's not going to work anyway. In order for those low income families to guarantee it, they may have to get a higher price, because actually there might be a black market that emerges. In order to get it, there might be other disadvantages. So other rationing devices may come into play, because price cannot act as that rationing device, because it can't go above P max. As we can see here, it cannot go above this because it's a price ceiling. So normally the price mechanism will act as a rationing function, and we'll go back to where supply equals demand. However, there needs to be another way of rationing it, which might mean low income families have to spend some time queuing, or some other method. There's some other main issues. The fact to overcome these issues may involve a subsidy. So let me just start a new page. Okay, so because there's less supply than we expect, we might suggest that another thing that they could do is provide a subsidy instead of, or as well as. Now, the subsidy will shift the supply to the right. Okay, so plus subsidy, and got our demand curve there, P, Q. Okay, so again, remember we need to describe this. So we're saying before the subsidy, the equilibrium price is PE, and the equilibrium quantity is QE. However, the government offers a subsidy which effectively lowers the cost to suppliers and shifts the supply curve from S1 to S2. This has an impact on price. It reduces the price to P1, or P with subsidy, and therefore increases the quantity demanded to Q1, or Q with subsidy, therefore giving consumers a lower price. Okay, let me just extend that up a little bit. At the same time, producers benefit from price PP, because they are getting this extra money from the government. So this represents a subsidy. The difference between S1 and S2 is a subsidy. So this is good. Okay, so remember when we're talking about evaluation, one of the things we can talk about is how it impacts different stakeholders. So different stakeholders. So we've already talked about consumers. They benefit from a lower price, which is effectively what we want them to do, because we want lower income families to be able to afford it. It also impacts producers. They effectively get a higher price. Okay, so on the face of it, everything's good. Everyone seems to be winning. However, someone has to pay for this subsidy. Okay, so we've got all of this area around here. Okay, so someone has to pay for all of this. So again, we can label this a little bit more effectively. D, E, F, G, H, and I. Okay, so as remember, the whole point of labeling is so we can talk about specific things. So, for example, in this, we can say A, B, C, D, E, F is the cost of the subsidy. Okay, that's the cost to the government. Okay, how do the government afford to buy this, pay this subsidy? Effectively, it's going to be through taxpayers. So taxpayers are going to have to pay more in taxes, or they're going to have to have an increased increased taxes, or alternatively there's going to be an opportunity cost. As maybe instead of paying for schools and hospitals, that tax money is spent on giving this subsidy for low-income families. So there's an issue there. And again, explaining how it impacts different stakeholders gets you evaluation marks. Okay, so again, you might say it increases taxes. Some taxpayers aren't going to like this, although it might not involve increased taxes. It might just involve an opportunity cost. So there might be less community services available, and again, that's not going to affect everybody. It might just affect some of those taxpayers. So only some people might be a little bit annoyed at it. And then you need to highlight, well, also there's this deadweight loss. Okay, C, this triangle C represents a deadweight loss to society because consumers are not benefiting from it, producers are not benefiting from it, but it's costing the government and therefore the taxpayer money in here. Okay, so no one is benefiting from it. So this is a welfare loss to society because the government's paying money, but no one is benefiting from it at all. Okay, and this may be down to the fact that some suppliers who are now producing would not ordinarily be producing because they're not efficient, but because they're getting all of this subsidy, they can make a profit out of it now. Okay, so now another way you can get evaluation marks is by giving solutions, or to some more solutions, or saying how you could improve some of this. So for example, you could say you could try to increase the income of low-income families. Okay, so you could do this by increasing their benefit that they get, or lowering the taxes that low-income families have to pay. Therefore, they're going to be able to afford the food. However, you know, can we guarantee they're going to spend this extra money on buying the food that we want them to? Okay, so they might buy it on other things. They might even buy it on demerit goods, which would defeat giving them the reduced taxes or the increased benefits. So maybe another thing that they could do to guarantee that they spend the money on the food is maybe give them food vouchers, which some of you talked about. So food vouchers. So this could work by the food vouchers. Basically, they hand them into the supermarket for these particular items, and then the supermarket claim the money back from the government. Supermarket claim money back. Claim back. Okay. So, however, again, you want to demonstrate how it could impact different stakeholders and whether there's any negatives or about it. Obviously, a negative here is maybe the administration cost may be high. Okay. However, overall, you might say this is all not quite straight there. So this is might be the best solution, because although there might be increased administration costs, you can guarantee that the people who you want to have the low food prices are going to get them. Where with the subsidies, everyone will benefit from low food prices, but we have this dead weight loss, and there might be a big cost to society in terms of this subsidy. Also, in terms of having a price ceiling, those people we aimed to, so let me just flick back to the previous page. So those people we aim to actually help, okay, might not actually benefit from it because we've now got this excess demand here. So overall, maybe a combination of these might help. However, maybe food vouchers might be the best way to go. So again, as long as you can justify something, justify what you're saying, you're going to get the marks for it. But remember, you need to include. Okay, you need to include. Let me just go to a new page to finish off. You need to include at least 2 or 3 elements of these. Okay, so remember a conclusion of what you're recommending and why, and justifying it. Long and short term. Okay, is there a difference in the short term or long term? Are there any assumptions? Okay, are there any holes in the assumptions we're trying to of the theories we're trying to use? How's it going to affect different stakeholders? It's going to affect different stakeholders in different ways, and quite often we can use diagrams to help us jog our memory on that. Are there any other solutions that might make the suggested solution better or worse? And as a matter of course, we need to make sure we've got both positives and negatives. For absolutely everything, there's going to be a positive and negative. Okay, and in some way, maybe try to rank your points in order of importance, because that's evaluation as well. That's you saying this is more of an important point because this is a less important point because. Okay, so that wraps up your feedback for 2B. Hope that was helpful, and remember, let's work on that evaluation.